Shalom, people. This is Brother Laz coming at you with another video. And this whole Kanye West, Kyrie Irving thing is not new. When me and my wife was part of the Black Christian church, used to see this kind of thing all the time, that if a person had money, power, position, they were immediately put forth as a person of authority, just from the fact of them just saying, hey, I believe in God, or I believe in Jesus, Yeshua, whatever. And that is something about our people, because we are a very religious people. We are. There's no doubt about it. But we're religious but lost. That if anybody, makes that profession right off the bat, we don't try them, we don't test them, none of that. We just, automatically just, hey, yes, he good to go, she good to go, they passed the test. I can remember back in the day when R. Kelly made the song I Believe I Can Fly. There was a pastor that I knew that came to me one day and told me, do you know that R. Kelly is saved? And I was like, from what? From him singing a song that, has something to do with flying, and you automatically equating that to him wanting to go to heaven and all these kind of things. I mean, you could hear a lot of songs about people talking about they want to go to heaven, and they want to have wings of an angel and all this other kind of thing, but you didn't see no change in their life. And I remember when Kurt Franklin, he came out and said, well, you got to give R. Kelly a chance. He's a little raw, whatever, and I'm working with him, and you got to give him some grace. Nobody's saved overnight, and nobody's perfect. The same daily dozen that they give you when they want you to be quiet, when you want to investigate why people doing certain things. They want you to be quiet, so they give you don't judge and all these different things. So anyway, you start hearing rumors about R. Kelly messing around with the young ones, the underage girls, and then you start hearing about Kirk Franklin going to treatment for addiction to pornography and everything, and you just start saying, man, this thing is crazy. How is this allowed to happen? But then when Kirk Franklin, after being the choir director of the Dallas Fort Worth Mass Choir, when he came out with his own group and they first single, Stomp, and he, said, if you thought gospel music was such and such, you ain't heard nothing yet. And then he did the Parliament Funkadelic music to his lyrics, and everybody accepted that. And to be fair, Kirk Franklin was not the first person to do that in that sense. He's the first person to play the music of Parliament Funkadelic throughout the whole song and put his lyrics to it. But sometimes you could go to certain churches, and when the musicians would be up there playing, sometimes you could hear them sometimes sampling popular R&B songs, maybe for a few chords, but sometimes a little longer. I can clearly remember being up in a church one time, and they played the Parliament Funkadelic, sampled Parliament Funkadelic, and the people got up in the church and just was like laughing at each other and looking at each other or whatever. So no, he wasn't the first one to, in that sense, he was the first one to kind of make it more acceptable, right? And so you can look at Al Green. You can look at when Al Green supposedly got saved or whatever, and the rumor was that some lady that he was dating caught him with some other lady and tried to throw hot grits on him or something to that effect, and whatever. And then next thing you hear, he has a church in Memphis, and he says that if you come into his church to hear him preach, you come into the wrong place. Only thing he gonna do is sing his songs, and he has people at the front door before you come in to receive an offering of $20. That was back then, probably more now. And people accepted that. They accepted him right in. And so why should it be any different with the quote unquote Hebrew Israelites? We the same people. It's just a different belief system. That's all. The beliefs of Christianity, people that's following that, same people. People that say they Hebrew Israelites, same people. Same modus operandi. Same thing with black people in Islam. Black people in Islam, that's why the people in the Middle East don't have no respect for the nations back in West Africa or Nation of Islam here in America. They basically say, look, right, y'all are not adhering to the tenets of it to the T. You incorporate your own different little twist into it or whatever, right? But you're not following it the way it's supposed to be. You letting any and everything in that we obviously wouldn't, because again, our people are religious but lost, right? This is why we gravitate to so many things. So then when we get a person that obviously say, hey, I adhere to the same thing that you adhering to, but it ain't no change in their life, you're basically saying to them, join the club. You have a belief in a belief system, but there's no change. Come and fellowship with me because I'm the same way. There is no change. Therefore, yeah, you can come in, you making this profession or whatever, and what makes your profession even more powerful than mine is that you got money to back it up, or at least you hoping that they're gonna take their money and lavish it upon your organization. But what if they're coming to use your organization as a tax shelter? What if they coming just to grab off those people within your little group or whatever and pull them off, right? And so with Kanye, I can remember, when he came into the black Christian thing with the song Jesus Walk, right? They just immediately accepted him right in, and then what he immediately started going off with Jay-Z and all these other people that's questionable and their beliefs and Yah and all these other kind of things. People still, oh yeah, he this and that. Then when he did his Sunday service with obviously this crazy, costumes and different things that he was, and different people that he was bringing on receiving. But then again, that's even look again at just think about some more people. It's tons. There's tons of examples that I can give. I can give the example of Thomas Dorsey. Thomas Dorsey, whose nickname was Georgia Tom. He was a famous jazz singer. He had a band down there in Georgia. And the story is, I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend, but she got sick and died or whatever. He said that the song came to his mind, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And he said he said it to music, and he said, well, I just use the music, I just play the style of music that I play in the jazz halls, and I'll just play it like that. And he just continued to play that. And what happened was the churches started hearing that, and they that which they had been rejecting for so long, they said they just received it in. Because why? Because famous Thomas Dorsey is a a believer, is a Christian or now, right? And so that's received the style of music that he's playing in, and that's played. It's acceptable now. So this is the same thing with, like I said, the Hebrew beliefs that, if you know he coming in with whatever, that's received that in. That's received everything that he is adhering to. That's received that in too. That's received in that Kyrie Irving said that I'm not a believer in any faith. I believe in all faiths. And in fact, my mom was on a Lakota Indian reservation, and let me give you this Indian spirit, female spirit name or whatever. And so, if you're gonna receive the fact that he acknowledging who we are and all these different things, which again, it's been plenty of people, famous and otherwise, they have been saying it. What makes it different that these two individuals, except that both their names start with K, are acknowledging it? And why do we need it to be acknowledged? Although, yes, the Most High Yah can use anybody, but why would he need to use the devil to proclaim any truth, not just this truth? Because the most important truth that any of us can proclaim is the truth of Yeshua being our Savior. That's the most important truth that can be proclaimed out of all that, and not just proclaim it, but also proclaim that he will make you a new creature, and that you ain't gonna continue to do and utter the same rhetoric that you did before. You're not going to do it. But this brings to mind in the book of Acts, where they had the woman that had a spirit of divination that was going around following behind Paul and Barnabas and saying, I don't know if it's Paul and Barnabas or Paul and Silas, one of those two. Okay, it was Paul and Silas, I think it was. And she was proclaiming, these are men of the Most High Yah. And they said after 3 days, Paul them got tired of it, and Paul turned around and cast that spirit out of her. Why? Why didn't he just keep letting her follow him around and say, these men are the men of the Most High Yah. These are men of the Most High Yah. Why didn't he do that? Most of us would say, Paul, you stupid. Don't you know this woman is a famous storyteller? Don't you know she's a famous clairvoyant, right? That's doing this. Don't you know what's wrong with you, Paul? You're gonna get us in trouble. Which actually, they the men that was her masters got mad because he had cast that spirit out of her. But Paul was like, I don't need this witch basically to following us around and proclaiming the truths of Yah. We don't want it to be equated to us. But what are our people doing? Our people are doing the same thing. Same thing with Saul, King Saul. When the people wanted a king, and Yah said, so you rejected me as king, right? You want a king like every other nation, right? And Yah told Samuel, he said, tell the people the manner of the king that's gonna be over them, right? Just so that they don't know. And what did Samuel, he rehearsed to him how selfish, narcissistic, how these kings would lord over them. And the people said, we don't care. We want that kind of leader over us, right? And so when Saul came, Yah gave them exactly what they want, right? First, he appeared to be okay on the surface, but on the inside, he was messed up. He was head and shoulders above all, right? But he was messed up on the inside. And when he started doing some of the crazy things he was doing, right? What did the people do, right? I remember one time that Saul had said, we chasing out the Philistines, and by the way, I want y'all to go on a fast. I want y'all to go on a fast until I'm avenged on my enemy or whatever. And then the Bible said that Jonathan didn't know his father had put everybody on the fast, and he said anybody that break the fast, they're gonna die. And how he said he was walking through this thing of trees, and honey was just dropping down on the ground, and how he dipped his spear in the honey and tested it, and he said his eyes were light and he was getting strength. And then he said, somebody came to him and said, didn't you know that your father had put everybody on a fast, that they wasn't supposed to eat anything until we avenged ourselves on the Philistines, and if anybody broke the fast, we was going to kill them? And he said, I didn't know. I wasn't here when my father made this silly a fast. If he had not done that and allowed the people to eat the honey, they would have had enough strength and energy to go after the Philistines and finish them off. So he was just doing all kinds of crazy things. And so what did the people say? It was like, Saul, we ain't gonna let you kill your son who helped wrought this great victory on the Philistines today. And he said, the Bible said that the people saved Jonathan from being killed by Saul's silly proclamation of going on a fast or whatever. But it was starting to unravel right there that he was not a spiritually minded person. He was not. Even though he had the instances where the Spirit came upon him and he prophesied, the Bible said back then the Spirit could come on people, but not necessarily on the inside. So we have this thing where the people express here that's famous outwardly with their mouth, whether it's in the Christian church, Hebrew, Islam, wherever, they express these different things, right? Right? But they ain't really no whatever. No, it's not no change. And so, you know, with Kanye, right? I'm saying my belief is that he wanted to get from under some of these contracts, maybe not all the way out of them like they are doing now, because notice what he said. He said, you know, Adidas was not gonna drop him even if he said some questionable things, which he did. So I don't think he necessarily wanted to get totally out of the Adidas, but I think what he was doing was trying to get a little bit more control or whatever. And so I think they really didn't have no choice but to, you know, definitely, you know, let him go, because they wasn't going to crash and burn with him. So he still really, though, still has a chance to recover himself from this, from the fact that he's out from under all his contracts, which I seen a short interview by not Run DMC, but his brother, the one that started Fat Farms. Russell, was it Russell Simmons? Yeah, Russell Simmons. He said that now he can market it and do all this stuff himself, and he says it's not that much change. Which, you know, I'm thinking that he is the smart businessman that he is, that he'll do that and be able to keep all the profits for himself. But what does that have to do with him changing the you know, being a godly person, you know, falling after the Most High or whatever, by, you know, getting people stirred up or whatever, that say they Yahudim but are not, and cutting them off, so that it really didn't even have anything to do with us. You can remember when Kendrick Lamar came out some years ago and was singing about he the people and all these things. How long did that last? It didn't last long. It didn't last long, because again, it's a belief system that doesn't. Belief systems don't change you. The son of Yah changes you. That's the change right there. That's the change we're pushing. That although we do acknowledge that we are the people, we do acknowledge that Yeshua was, you know, we are the same tribes that he came out of. But it was those same tribes back in his day that knew who they were, that proclaimed who they were, that when their Savior came, they didn't proclaim him. They rejected him. And Yeshua himself even said, he said, I came in my Father's name and you won't receive me. He said, another who will come in his own name later, him you're going to receive. And that's what our people have always done, right? The righteous spotless Lamb of Yah that came. Nah, we don't need him to proclaim our cause, because their cause was to overthrow the Roman Empire, not understanding that they was under the feet of the Roman Empire because of their uh, sinful lives. And Yeshua was coming and get from up underneath that. They didn't want that. But when Caesar Borgia came later, right? What did a lot of our people do when Eurocentric Christianity came on the scene? They received it hook, line, and sinker. Even before that, what when Herod said, "Is this your king?" What did the people say? They said, "We have no king but who? Caesar Borgia. We have no king but Caesar Borgia." And that's the same thing today. When you got this guy, obviously, right? I'm telling you, Kanye, look what he's connected with, the Kardashians. He's connected with that witchcraft, right? Hey, let's receive him on in here. Let's receive him hook, line, and sinker. Let's receive Kyrie Irving hook, line, and sinker with all this occultic stuff all tattooed all on him. Let's receive him hook, line, and sinker with him saying, "I don't believe in one faith. I believe in all faiths." Let's receive him in. Let's receive him. Another will come in their own name, and him you will receive, right? Receive. That's what we're doing right now. That's why more and more I like what the Bible said, what Yeshua said. He said, "I did not come to bring," basically, I'm going to paraphrase. He said, "I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. I came to divide people up." Why? Because there's going to be some people you're going to have to divide yourself away from. Because how can two walk together except they agree? That's get out of this thing, right? Of looking for a man, a woman, or whoever that's going to have all the answers. Get what you can out of a situation and then move on. I'm telling you. Because many of those that started off walking with Yeshua, in the end, they're not going to be walking with him like what the Kanye West said that what Jesus walked. Well, he's not walking with, I don't believe him now. I don't believe that. But if you walk with Kanye, whatever Kanye is walking with, you're going to have to walk with that too. And that goes for even ones that's in Christianity or whatever, that's, following questionable people. Stop following people. I'm telling you. I've learned my lesson, and I had one pastor that I really, I really truly believe that out of all the pastors I ever had, the short time that I was with him, I learned a whole lot of stuff that has really helped me. One of the things that he told me was, he said, "Laos," he said, "don't be afraid to move on." He said, "I had many ministers that have and people that have came through my ministry." And he said they got what they needed and they moved on. They had got all they can and they moved on. He said, "I don't have no problem with that." He said, "Get what you can, and if you got to move on to something else, move on." And, I would say that to some things and some people that you are listening to. When you get to a certain point that you're saying, "Well, you know what? I'm not really feeling that what they're saying right now. I'm not. It's time to move on." And how many of y'all are listening to me? Which is, I thank the Most High for anybody that's out here, because like I told you, these videos I'm mainly making them for my children when I pass on. So, because they're grown now, and it's something about children when they get a certain age, that when the parents try to impart certain things into them, usually starting at a teenager age, they reject it. They don't want to hear it. And that's just the way of life. They're trying to form their own who they are, and you try your best to keep them from going out and making a mess of their life. You try to, hold them tight and say, "No, listen." But most of the time, they're going to listen to others, even if it's going to be to their detriment. But I said, when they come back to themselves, because you can imagine that the prodigal son, when he left from his father's house, I'm pretty sure his father had given him an earful of knowledge and wisdom, whatever. And so that when he finally came back to himself, when he came back, he said, hey, how many people in my father's house are eating better than I am? I'll go back and, ask my father to receive me as a servant, right? Well, whenever my sons, some of them really decide to come back, right? And if the Most High choose to take me on home, I want them to be able to look back at these videos and understand, hey, this is what my father was thinking. They don't have to guess and tell people, this, I think he believed this, or think he believed, no, it's right here. If YouTube don't take the channel down, of course, they can take it down, because to be honest, I'm not saving these videos to an alternate site, if the Most High see fit that is something that's valuable enough to be heard, he'll let the channel stay, or it'll be gone. But the point I'm trying to make in all that is, if somebody's trying to get you to follow them in supporting people who have questionable backgrounds or whatever, and you definitely are not with it, it might be time just to move on, because we are living in that time. That's why that's why I really believe that the Most High, right, when Yeshua, came, he said, I gotta leave, right, because I can't be with every one of you individually. He said, but I'm going to send the Holy Spirit, one to be right alongside you, that's going to lead you and speak to you. He knew that the time was going to come when we was going to need this, right? When just different people. And yes, we know we have the quote unquote fivefold ministry, whatever, of apostles, pastors, evangelists, prophets, and teachers, and all these things. But they never was ones that were supposed to lord it over us, and you got to be with me 30 years and show me loyalty and all this other kind of stuff. I don't believe that. And one of the reasons I know that wasn't so, because back then people was on the run. Back then, if you was a believer and they found out, man, they were scattering out in all directions, right? It said only the apostles stayed in Jerusalem. Everybody else was scattering out to all different places. So this message was going out far and wide to the known world. The only thing we know is that the time of the Gentiles was going to have to come to an end, and we was going to have to say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of Yahuwah, in order for Yeshua to come back a second time and to receive us. But in between that time, he said, many are going to come in my name, saying that I am anointed. I am the anointed one. And he said, many are going to tell you he's here. He's in the desert place. He's in the synagogue. He's in the church. He's in here. He said, don't believe him. Try the spirits, whether they be of the Most High Yah. And this thing with Kanye and Kyrie, but not just them, but many others, does not, for my spirit, what the Holy Spirit for me is saying, is something that I'm definitely not, whatever. And so again, I'm gonna ask that you just, put it to the Most High Yah. Just put aside, the words and different things that you have been hearing in the media, out of the media, and ask the Most High, is this something that I should be getting behind? Of course, I would definitely, it would be nice if some of these people that have money, power, and positions would, say, hey, yeah, I'm committed to the Most High, whatever. Yes, but not, I would say, I would not accept any of their money. I wouldn't accept none of it. I would tell them, do with it what the Most High Yah told you to do with it. Do with your fame what the Most High, right? Because see, what some people want them to do is with their fame, their money, or whatever, is send it in my direction. I can remember, and I'm gonna leave after this, in this video. It was a friend of mine. He had a younger sister that I knew, and me and my wife, we had went down to Myrtle Beach. This is some years ago, and I seen her, and she was with her husband. I said, hey, how you doing? And I said, yeah, you don't remember? He said, yeah, I remember you. You my brother Rick friend. I said, oh, you. He said, yeah, this is my husband or whatever. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, good to see you. How Rick, my friend's name was Rick. How you doing? He's doing good. And she introduced me and my wife to her husband, whatever. And I gave her my number, and her and my, her and my wife kind of hit it off a little bit. And so anyway, when we got back to, town, right, about a week or so later, I called her, my wife, one of us called her, or whatever. Somehow we got into the um talk of religion and Jesus and all this kind of stuff. And so I told her, hey, I was a minister or whatever. And her husband, he was, I guess they had just left a church, and they was trying to find their way or whatever. And I was telling her, hey, well, we have a little home Bible study, and they said, oh, you do, can we come? And I let my wife, I said, it's okay, because you just got to be careful, excuse me. And they said, yeah, tell them come on over. So they came over, and we started having a little in-home Bible study and everything, and it was good, because like I said, I came out of the crazy Christian church, and we was learning some things ourselves, trying to find our way out of this and trying to find that light, like I was telling you in one of my videos, trying to find that true light of the light of salvation when we first got saved, coming out of that churchianity stuff. But anyway, I can remember the brother, her husband, coming to me, and he was like, yeah, it's good to have a brother fellowship with and everything. And, he was telling me some of the problems he had in a previous relationship he had been with before he ran into her. And just going through some different things. And so he was like, I had a real bad accident and stuff. And he said, I'm set to get a big settlement. I think he said it was going to be like over $100,000 or whatever. And he said, I believe in, giving to the man, giving to ministries and stuff. He said, so since we here at your thing, right? He said, I would want to know if it's okay if I give my 10% off of my settlement to you, which probably would have been like 10,000 or more. And immediately something rose up in me and said, no, brother, no, no, no. I said, And I guess his wife had overheard or something, because she was in there talking to my wife, but she heard our conversation. And I was saying, nah, brother, I said, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I said, we just having fellowship. I said, we don't need no money for our house payment and whatever. We're inviting y'all over. So anyway, what ended up happening was, I think his wife kind of overheard it, and she really wasn't trying to, give in it, which again, I had told her no. And my wife, when she found out, she said, no, we don't want that. Not that we're upset with you for offering it. No, we flattered that you would think enough of us to do that, but nah, I don't feel comfortable with that. You do it that with the Most High, or God, as I call him, tell you to do. But nah, just because I'm teaching and we fellowshipping or whatever, no, freely I receive, freely I'm giving out. So again, after that, his wife, basically they stopped coming. And I don't think it was him, it was her, his wife, because she was thinking, oh, oh, they think they're gonna make a payday off, even though we clearly told, him with her there, we didn't want it. But I don't think she was having that. And sure enough, later on, they ended up breaking up because she was about that money or whatever. He didn't realize what he had got himself into or whatever. But yeah, if these people come in, if they did have a change, nah, I wouldn't. I would tell them, look, because that's your money, you earned it, whatever. You do with it what the Most High told you, right? And if you choose to say different things about a ministry or a book or anything like that, do it because you feel that the Most High is telling you to do it, not because you feel obligated to me to promote anything, right, that I have, especially if you don't think it's worthy. And because one of the things that I always used to trip off is when you went to certain churches and they just say people made professions of faith at those churches. They would always say, well, if you got saved here, you need to stay here. That's not necessarily so, because it wasn't you come to that church that got you saved anyway. It's the Spirit. And the Spirit said he goes where he pleases. And he might not be pleased for you to go there, because you might know that the people there are a bunch of whatever. But our people don't think like that. So it's the same way, hey, whatever, whoever he professed faith with, that's who he need to stick with. That's why I'm saying Kyrie already told you. He ain't sticking with nobody. He's sticking with everybody. He just put the book out and the beliefs out or whatever that was in the book. But that doesn't necessarily, it's end all be all for him. He just getting it for knowledge. So with that, I want to ask you to, I'm getting ready to end. I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to share it. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Be blessed.